The definition of innovation changes over time. The definition of entrepreneurialism has changed over time. And so for us, it's actually just doing much of the same thing, but maybe showing up differently for the customers as the marketplace changes around us. Traditionally, even if you just go back a few years, tech companies were looking at trying to establish a business that worked domestically and then think about international expansion. These days, a business needs to think about how they're applicable internationally on day one. It goes from startup to unicorn in a very rapid rate, and that's what investors are seeking as well. Our proposition is take away all the complexity of banking so that the founders can actually focus on what they love, which is establishing their business and growing.
Joining a startup was always like a dream. I was really feeling that drive to do something more impactful. I think once I met Soumya and we really bonded together well, I would say. And a lot of ideas were kind of resonating. From the day we got to know that we are getting funded and we explored our options, somehow both of us were like HSBC is going to be our first option.
The company is based out of Singapore. We were going to have customers in India and Southeast Asia. So we wanted to have banking outside of Singapore accessible. We are not now worried about how our payment is going to come in, right? In future, when we scaled, we don't have to change banking partners. They will remain a constant through our journey. The Antler HSBC collaboration just made it so much easier for us to have the whole thing set up. It's good that we have a full complete ecosystem that we can depend on and leverage for our growth.
So Antler believes in the power of innovation to create a better future. Our goal is really to make progress inevitable. And we do that by empowering ambitious, resilient, and exceptional founders to tackle meaningful challenges. Because we recognize that startups were failing, and particularly in the early stages. And what we want them to do is concentrate on building their businesses and creating value, rather than spending time going to the market and comparing different banking options. And so our entire platform was put together to address those risks and to really increase their probability of success in the early days. Our partnership with HSBC offers our portfolio companies preferred banking services, but also access to HSBC's ecosystem. So for example, they launched their lending fund to support new economy businesses. They've also introduced founders to their network. And so what we saw with HSBC was that they had the commitment and also the right services to support our founders in the early stages and growth and beyond. I would say sort of not just on the startup side, but also the partnership with HSBC is great for Antler. So we already have an operating bank account with them. But in addition, they've helped enhance our investment capability with a strategic sustainability linked loan. And it was a relationship that could really kind of grow and evolve as our companies mature.
We had heard stories from other startups who faced issues with some other financial providers.
If I'm getting money from say Indonesian rupiah or Indian rupee into SGD, it takes much longer for the transaction to happen.
And we are way further ahead now, and you are still struggling with that. So that was really surprising for us to know that they are facing those challenges, which was like a breeze for us.
It's just one less thing for us to worry about in terms of setting up of a company, right? And it's, like I said, you want the money to come in as quickly as possible. That's very important.
Already we've had great feedback from our founders that have been engaging with HSBC and using their banking services. I think signals to the potential of this collaboration to extend beyond Singapore.
The role of banking is changing. You're turning the relationship from one of being a financial services provider to the client, enabling them to commercialize, enabling them to scale quickly. And I think that's the role holistically that we do, particularly in this space. To beat their partner, I think is, personally really rewarding.